Seth and I are back in Hayhira. It's been exactly 2 weeks since I was here. Seth has been here a couple days. He's been working on his bees. He fed them and put another box on them, I think a deep box on all of them. My colonies definitely are ready for another box. Hopefully there's no swarm cells in them. We'll be going through them tomorrow. John and Selena will hit these bees first thing in the morning. I'm going to sleep in a little bit because we're just going to take all night. In fact, if we have any glitches at all, we will see the sun come up. I used to do that all the time. These days I don't care for it much. I avoid it when I can, but tonight I have no choice. Seth, did I ever tell you that I really used to be very good at staying up all night?
I heard there was chocolate-covered espresso beans.
Yeah, chocolate-covered espresso beans. That'll do it for you. So Seth's good at staying up all night, too. I've noticed that. Not everybody can do that. It's not for everybody. So something very interesting happens right after the sun goes down. The bees, in fact, all of Mother Nature kind of goes into a quiet phase. Even if it's warm and you have a lot of bees flying, they're less stingy at that time between sundown and dark. After dark, they're angrier, and before sundown, they're angrier. But that small time between sundown and dark, they're not as stingy. Of course, these bees are all in. It's kind of cool now, even though it's been a nice day. So we shouldn't have any stinging issues anyway. So that radish field across the street is still blooming. I'm sure the bees will miss that. Seth told me they've gained a little weight in the last 2 weeks, so that's a good thing. No danger of starving, I guess. So this won't take long. Seth spent last night gathering these bees all up into one spot. If we had to go to all 3 spots and gather the bees, then go home, then spread them out in 3 spots, it just might take a little bit too much time. So Seth spent last night gathering them into one spot. That's going to help a lot. Anyway, this shouldn't take long. Seth, pull that forklift out of the way. We'll back up and hook the trailer up and get to loading. This pin here is a handy little gizmo. We put a little hole in our fork right here. All of our forklifts have that, or all of our beekeeping forklifts have that. Move the trailer around with the forklift. Okay. Here's something else that we do that's helpful. We put marker lights inside all of the toolboxes on the trucks that haul bees. They're all hooked up to a switch on the dash. We use the amber, as you can see here. It's the same light that would go on the side of a truck bed. Helps us find our straps and tools and things like that when it's dark out. Very helpful. All right, got about a quarter moon there. Moon is the beekeeper's best friend when you're working at night. At least you can see where you're walking without tripping over stuff. These are some of the bees that just came home from Hayhira, Georgia. 32 colonies in this one spot. They just got moved here last night. We're putting a bear fence up around them. We have to have these bear fences in this area or we just can't keep bees. There's a lot of bears. And it's kind of cold, but as soon as they're done with the fence, I think we can pop lids and put boxes on. This is the last yard to be worked on. They've worked on the other, 3. This is the 4th yard. And the others are all done, and they found very strong colonies. The type when you open the lid, they kind of boil out kind of colonies. These are clustered, so it might not be, should be clustered because of the temperature, so it might not be so dramatic. What we've been doing is just feeding the feeder with 1-to-1 syrup and putting a deep box on. The deep boxes have 6 drawn comb, 3 frames of foundation, and then 1 frame of drone comb, one of those green combs, and that's all we're doing. They've not seen any swarm cells so far, which at first glance might seem amazing because some of them are so full. But the bees know when it's time. They don't have a good drone population yet, and my take on this is that they're waiting for the drones. I kind of learned that many years ago. You can have the strongest colonies in the world, but if they don't have a drone population, they won't in general. It's not every single colony, but generally speaking, they won't rear swarm cells, and that's the case here. They are rearing drones, and drones are coming, so it won't be too long before they get around to swarm cells. I'll tell a little story from years ago. Down in South Georgia, had a lot of colonies, a couple thousand one year, and they were coming on strong. They were double deeps, just plumb full of bees. And they were even getting to the point where they were thinking about building cells. And we had an historic freeze, a historic cold spell in early spring. And the bees actually removed all the drone brood and kicked out some of the drones they had. But the colonies kept swelling up in population to the point where they were just jammed. I mean, the type of colonies, when you pop the lid, they'd boil out, but they were not building swarm cells, and we were kind of wondering why. It finally dawned on me they didn't have any drones, and as soon as they had a drone population coming on again, they went ahead and started building swarm cells. Of course, by then we were splitting, and it worked out good for me. I had a couple commercial queen producer friends that actually had to call customers and push their dates back several weeks because they didn't have the drones to mate with. Some of the guys went ahead and just kept on schedule and kind of regretted it because they had poor mating with a lack of drones. Anyway, back to swarming. The colonies generally will wait till they have a drone population coming on. They're smart enough to know that if they don't have drones to mate with, they're not going to be building a bunch of swarm cells. So this yard is here for a specific reason. We're in Wolf Fork Valley, just out of Raven Gap, Georgia. I have a farmer friend who's got about 6 or 7 acres of strawberries here, and he lets me use so many parts of his property for bee yards that I always pollinate these for free. Viewers might say they often hear me say I don't pollinate, and I really don't, but this is just kind of a favor to a friend, and he's careful about the bees, so I don't have any issues here. The bees don't really bring much off of the strawberries. It's very little pollen and nectar, but what he sees when he has ample bees is that he has fuller fruit. I'm not sure it gives him more strawberries, but he has better shaped strawberries when he's got a lot of bees. And then he'll let us use this yard all summer long. It's actually a pretty good location. If the camera will pick it up, we've got hills and mountains all around us here, and they're all loaded with sourwood. It's actually a pretty good area. So they haven't quite finished the patty that was given to them, but they're working on them. So this pallet has 3 pretty good ones and 1 smaller one, which is fine. Selena's just stripping lids off, and then James is going to come along and fill the feeders and put a box on. This yard of 32 colonies should only take about 15 or 20 minutes, and they'll be out of here. Okay, looking good. I can't help it. Give me your hive tool. It's not sugar either. I don't know what that is. It's not the best honey, but it's not horrible. James is feeding, putting a deep box on. Simple as that. So it'll only take about 15 or 20 minutes. Well, we're here with the Georgia bee inspectors. I have to be inspected every year in order to have a license to sell bees in Georgia. And it also gives me a health certificate that allows people from out of state to purchase bees from me. We're going to go through all these bees today. They'll be here for several yards of bees. Usually they're very happy with me. They don't have to inspect every beehive or anything like that. In the 25 years I've been being inspected in Georgia, I've never had one single negative, so they kind of know we're good at this, and they don't feel like they have to inspect every single thing. Anyway, by the end of today, I should have my health certificate, and kind of anxious to look in these bees anyway because I haven't been in them yet this year. This is the first real look-see in these colonies. Selena and John put some of those strong microbial patties on them about 2.5 weeks ago. We'll see what they've done with that. And the idea behind the inspectors is Selena and I will go along and pull a frame of brood out and then hand it to the inspector, and they will look at it closely, and then they'll hand it back to us, and we'll put the colony back together. Well, while we're in the yard, John here is going to put a feeder, an inside feeder, in every colony and fill it with syrup. And then any colonies that seem excessively light will also get another fondant patty. It should go pretty quick. There's a lot of, I think there's 70 colonies or something like that in this yard. The other yards tend to be a little smaller than this one, but hopefully we can go through a lot of bees today. All right, all good. We had 2 queenless and 1 laying worker. The rest are looking good. A couple of small ones, a couple of big ones, and everything else in the middle. It's usually the way it goes. Inspectors are happy, real clean bees. We have 1 yard that Selena and John looked at a couple of weeks ago that's pretty big, but it's got a lot of Italian in it. These are Caucasian / Carniolan with a little bit of Italian bees, and this 4, 5, 6 frames of bees is about what we would expect this time of year. It's February 20th. They're bringing in maple pollen, so they're starting to brood up really good. They'll be a lot different in just 3 or 4 weeks, but for now, this is what they look like. That sugar patty was put on 2 weeks ago. Looks like these guys got 2 patties each. One's gone and the other is half gone, so just right. Everybody's looking really healthy, good condition. So far, so good. We've only looked at 4 yards that spent the winter in the mountains. We still have a lot to go, so hopefully we'll keep seeing good stuff. Okay, so we're doing some mite checking now. It's February 20th, and I would expect to see a whole bunch of zeros. We did 2 oxalic vaporizations back in winter when they were broodless, and she's been shaking that thing for over a minute now, and we should see 0.
We don't have a single mite?
No mites, yeah. And that's what I expect in all of our colonies. We might see 1 in 1 colony or something like that, but this time of year, they're just starting to brood up. They've got sealed brood. The very few mites they might have really should be in the brood. So we should just see a bunch of zeros, and that's what we're seeing. So we're happy. Well, we're in what we call the mill yard. The inspectors have been through a number of bees. They're satisfied, they're happy, they're done. They're filling out the paperwork. Here's one place where these rims kind of are a good thing. We'll be getting back to these colonies in about 2 weeks to equalize or give them another box. So I suspect another box. Most of them look like this. And that rim actually gives the colony a place to allow bees to cluster. So gives them a little less sense of being crowded if you have one of these rims on. Of course, we're just using the rims right now so we can feed these sugar patties. We treated these just like we did the ones in Hive down in South Georgia. Black feeder, 1.5 gallon feeder full of 1-to-1 syrup, strong microbials, fondant patty, and we'll be back in 2 weeks to do something. Well, today's an exciting day. We're getting ready to pour a slab for a building that's going to be our paint booth. We're putting up a 24 by 50 building, 10-foot ceiling, 2 garage doors, and it's going to be where we paint equipment. Right now we're doing it upstairs inside our big building, and it's just too much. We need to get that painting situation out of there. We have a separate building with a good exhaust system. Perhaps we can start using an airless sprayer too. Right now we're painting by hand, literally everything by hand. Really the most efficient way is to use an airless sprayer and spray it on and then brush it in. We kind of pride ourselves on doing a good paint job, so I don't want to just spray it on and leave it like that. In my opinion, that's an inferior paint job. Anyway, this is the beginnings of our new paint booth building, and we're sure looking forward to having it up. We'll probably be pouring cement here within a day or 2. Okay, here's the queen in her observation hive. She started to lay, and this thing barely made it through winter. But it made it. There are not many bees in there. I think they'll be okay.